Good evening, everybody. Mike Naso here on the YouTube page with the latest on the tropics. We have a couple of features. This is Tropical Storm Erin looking much, much better organized than it has, slowing down just a little bit, continuing to move throughout the central Atlantic, forecast to become a very powerful major hurricane and come dangerously close to areas of the western Atlantic. We'll talk about that. We have Invest 98L, which is sitting here over the Yucatan Peninsula. This should move into the Gulf and potentially develop into a tropical storm before heading towards areas there of South Texas or northern Mexico, and a very large, ominous looking tropical wave leaving Africa, and we will watch that as well. But let's get right to the latest on Erin. Here's the latest as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, which is also Atlantic Time, on Wednesday night from the National Hurricane Center. Erin was at 16.3 north, 46.6 west. Winds are 50 miles per hour, and is moving west at 16, but that is slower than the 22 miles per hour it was moving on Tuesday night. So it is slowing down, and that slower motion will help it organize a little bit as it moves towards warmer waters. Erin should be a hurricane by Friday, and then a major hurricane by Saturday, and an even stronger major hurricane by Sunday and Monday, as it generally curves west-northwest here towards an opening in the ridge of high pressure to the north. It should have a little bit of a weakness that will allow it to slip between Bermuda and the Bahamas and Hatteras in the Bermuda Triangle here, but I'm telling you, we don't want it to get too close, and there is still some uncertainty. Here's the latest infrared satellite imagery, and again, the convection is building very slowly right around the center, maybe a little bit to the south, but that kind of signature that I'm seeing right now is typical of a tropical storm, usually 50, 60 miles per hour, usually about a day or so before becoming a hurricane. So Erin looks right on track to become a hurricane in a day or so. Now the waters it's going to be moving over. That will offset any potential wind shear issues it faces, which it really shouldn't face too much. But even if there is a little bit of wind shear, just the fact that it's slowing down and it's going to be moving over hotter and hotter ocean temperatures is going to allow it to strengthen. And look at these models here. They take the storm. Look at this, Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hurricane. A lot of them make it a Category 3 or 4 hurricane, and so a very dangerous, ominous hurricane will likely be cruising through the western Atlantic by early next week. And again, most of the intensification seems to come in about 2 to 3 days. So we're going to be watching that, as it should become a hurricane of at least Category 3. Now, the European model spooked everybody earlier because it did show the system. Now, this was the 18Z run. It did show our system, Erin. I'm sorry, this is the 12Z. Showed Erin moving west, west-northwest, and then watch what happens as it gets near the Turks Caicos. It turns, but there's just enough ridging to allow it to get really, really close to Hatteras. I mean, dangerously close. I mean, you're going to be in tropical storm force conditions at the very least, not to mention the high swells and the onshore flow around the storm. Be rip currents, it would be crashing waves, it'd be a very close call. And that's a lot closer than we were seeing the last 2 days. So that kind of took us all by surprise. And then, of course, by the end of August, it shows a big fat donut hurricane sitting there in the western Gulf of Mexico headed towards Texas. So it's a sign that things are going to get active, but we're really going to watch this track with Erin because, again, I really think it's going to turn. It looks like it's going to turn, but it's still just far enough out, and there's just enough uncertainty to where we don't want it to get too close. And look, here's the Turks and Caicos Islands, here's the Bahamas and the Abacos. It's going to get close. If it takes the southern edge of this track, it's going to be very close. And you're talking about, if the eye of the hurricane is sitting right here, that is a very, very ominous, dangerous hurricane that'll be bearing down on the Turks and Caicos. So again, we're going to wait and see if there's any more westward adjustments, but as of now, you guys just have to watch it. The key messages on Erin from the Hurricane Center. Number 1, locally heavy rainfall, high surf, rip currents, tropical storm force winds could occur in the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico this weekend because the core of Erin is going to pass to the north. So you guys need to monitor the progress just in case she gets a little closer than we like. Number 2, while there is still uncertainty in what impacts might occur in the Bahamas, the east coast of the United States, and Bermuda next week, we know for sure dangerous surf and rip currents across the western Atlantic. They are approaching, and as we approach the climatological peak of the hurricane season, which technically is September 10th, this is an opportune time to ensure your preparedness plans are in place. And again, the swells will propagate away. I saw some models showing like 80-foot waves, 100-foot waves moving out in areas there between the Bermuda area and the Bahamas. So again, we're going to watch it very carefully. This is our invest area. They name them AL for Atlantic, and they number them 90 to 99, and then they repeat 90 to 99. So this is 98L, and then the next one would be 99L, and then it'll be 90L, and then we go from an invest to a depression, and a depression to a storm, and a storm to a hurricane, and then with Erin, it'll be a major hurricane, hopefully moving out to sea. But invest 98L over the Yucatan Peninsula, moving out. It looks like it could become a tropical depression or storm and head generally towards northern Mexico, perhaps southern Texas, if you're in areas of Corpus, Brownsville, Padre Island. You guys want to keep an eye out there in Texas, and of course, areas there of Matamoros and northern Mexico. Could be some heavy rainfall. That's usually what happens with these little curlicues that move from the Bay of Campeche. Taking a look at the satellite right now, it's there. I mean, I don't like that. You know, it's moving slow. It looks like it's kind of compact. Looks like it might do a little something, and we'll see if it'll steal a name. And if it does, the next name, now that we've had Erin, is the F storm. The male name is Fernan. And so we'll see if this becomes Tropical Storm Fernan, or if that comes from another system. A lot of rainfall over the south. Been pretty nasty flooding in areas of Tennessee. It's been a very wet flooding type of summer here in the United States with the flooding in Texas and all that. Hopefully the hurricanes stay away and don't exacerbate that. But we're going to watch it very carefully again as hurricane season 2025 cranks on. Erin, looking much better organized, should become a hurricane and then a dangerous major hurricane and get somewhere here in the western Atlantic. Most likely turn, but we have to keep an eye on it because it's going to be so large and powerful and dangerous. You don't want to be hit by it if it decides to come your way. So we're going to talk about that in the coming days. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics, and I'll be back more as we watch our system in the Gulf and the waves leave Africa, and of course more on Erin.